exactly what happened there. I think we had some technical difficulties. I think it was because of the headphones. I had some issues with this during the setup process where if the headphones sometimes I think were interfering with the camera with the wi with my phone's ability to properly connect to the laptop and or something like that with the Wi-Fi or whatever. I'm not sure. So maybe that also is affecting the ability to stream as well. I'm not sure. At the very least, yeah, it's kind of annoying. I don't really know what the problem is. My best guess is that that means that the headphones switched frequencies or something at some point, because that's how Bluetooth works, right? Although I thought Bluetooth usually switches a lot faster, so I'm not really sure. But disconnecting and reconnecting the headphones from Bluetooth seemed to fix the issue. So it's kind of a weird kind of a weird issue. Uh, but um, what can you do? So I don't quite remember where I'm at. So let me just put in the correct options for YouTube. The stream is not finished. Apparently my connection is excellent again. So that is good. We are back. Now just give me, I'm really sorry, but just give me a second to just check what in the world I was talking about before we started having these technical difficulties, because I cannot remember. So this will take like 10 seconds. I just want to. All right, 10 seconds, man. 10 seconds, guys. Mm-hmm. 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 Makes sense. Yep, makes sense. Okay. Uh-huh. Yep, makes sense. Okay. To gain experience and confidence making YouTube videos, that's what I'm talking about. Yep, makes sense. Yep, makes sense. Yep, makes sense. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'll get back to you in a second. I'm just double checking. Hello. Yep, I'll talk to you in a second, Daya. I'm just trying to figure out where I was a second ago. Hmm. Okay. So I'm not really sure what I was doing there, but everything seems to be working okay now. So um, I guess we can talk, or we can just I can just continue from where I was, what I was talking about before, which was what I'm doing, why I'm doing this live stream series. Well, hopefully doing this live stream series. So I'll give it about a minute, and if nothing happens, I will continue on with from where I left off. Oh, it's unstable again. That's good to know. Ah, right, well, let's try to see if the same fix works as before. We will simply disconnect the headphones. And the thing is on, and we're getting some lag, but not too much lag. So it should be all working again now. All right. And hopefully good, we're getting excellent, I hope. So I'm going to refresh both of these. I think I need to have my eye on the OBS manager because I think that's the only way to really make sure that these things look. I can't really look at the chat at the moment. I got to finish what I was talking about and make sure that this thing is working properly because otherwise, if I'm not paying attention, it's just going to randomly stop working. So I'm going to have to talk to any chatters afterwards. I've got some stuff I need to get through that I'm trying to get recorded on the internet, YouTube in general, and I need to go through that. So yeah. Now, whether any of this is working or not, I have no clue. But I know that this is working here, so I'm going to have to trust that it's all working well and that the connection is excellent again. That's excellent. This, if I refresh it, is probably going to be okay. So let's go from where I was, what I was doing. And I'll have to make sure to look to the left every so often just to make sure that nothing went wrong. It's not the best setup in the world, is it? But, okay. So, we were talking about, honestly, I can't remember. I think I was talking about, yeah, projects on the back burner and doing them. So, yeah, that's one. Another reason to gain experience and confidence making YouTube videos, or in this case, doing live stream. So that's another reason, because that is something that's been somewhat of a long-term goal of mine in some respects, that I've wanted to not just do projects, but to show them off and explain them to people. So, yep. Another thing is, so yeah, and ultimately the thing is like, I I've wanted to honestly I've wanted to make a YouTube channel, and this is like, okay, let me say it. So this whole idea of like doing a live stream or doing a video where I explain projects and stuff, it's not something that's just come out of nowhere. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and it's something that I've tried on and off again and again to do. I ended up talking about that before already, but just reiterating. So this is something that means a lot to me, that I'm doing my best to try, and I know it seems a bit crazy or silly to keep going again and again, but what they say, like, if at first you don't succeed, try again. So I'm trying again and again, and hopefully if everything works out, then hopefully if everything works out, then this will be good. This will be a good series, be good for me, and it'll help me um feel a bit better, I guess, or move forward. Because honestly, when I think about what else do I do, I can't really think of anything else to do. I fell into a depression a couple of years ago, many years ago now, and I'm doing my best to work my way back, work my way forward. And when I think, well, what's the next step? What do I do? This is the only thing I can realistically think of, that I can really think of, that will help me move forward, take that next step, move forward with. whatever, what I'm supposed to do with whatever it is that I'm supposed to do with my life. Never mind. Sorry, I'm getting too deep into this. Sorry, just give me a second. 10 seconds. Okay, so that's um reason number two, three, I guess. Um, Honestly, I can't really remember. Oh yeah, yeah. So the other thing was a long time ago, I had this idea, because obviously I was always trying to figure out ways of solving this issue. I thought, what if I locked myself in the room for a week or so and just did nothing but do projects? Now, obviously, that's not really a very good idea, to lock yourself in a room. But the thing is, I'm at home all day. I'm not doing anything else with my time. So, you know, I might as well work on it. Like, so I don't have to lock myself in a room. I can just record myself and do it now. I mean, I got nothing better to do, so why not? So this is sort of like, updating that idea. And, instead of locking myself in a room, it's going to be just do it. Just sit down, relax, pick a project, record yourself doing it, and do it. And so that's what the basic idea of Project a Day is. So, yeah, all right. Let me just God, I'm really sorry. That technical difficulty threw me for a loop, and now I can't even remember what I'm trying to say. Honestly, I don't really remember. I mean, I guess that's really all there is to it, I'm trying to get projects off the back burner. I'm trying to. Oh yeah, I remember now. And the third and final reason, I know that was more than three reasons, but I'm supposed to give three roughly, but whatever, is as an outlet for expressing myself, basically. And also for reducing stress. As I said before, I'm kind of stressed. I've got nothing to do all day. I don't really do much. This is something I can do that I can feel good about and proud of. Um, that I can put some work into and effort into, and it's also you know. So yeah, the idea of this is to try and be something that relaxes me, not stressing me out, which is ironic because at first it definitely did stress me out. Like this was a very stressful thing, and it kind of is. But the more I do it, the better I'm getting at doing it. So hopefully, eventually, it helps me move forward into a place where it's something that makes me happy, makes me fulfilled. Hopefully, we'll see. And another reason is outside of that is, as an expression, because I always have all this stuff that I want to say. And honestly, I've said so much. I've said it to the camera now so many times that hasn't actually been recorded or put up to the internet because a lot of it I just recorded and then never actually uploaded. But maybe that's part of the reason why it's harder for me to figure out what I want to say because I've already said so much of it. But it's also why it's coming easier, and that's good. I feel good. I feel good about it. So anyway, the point being is I know this is a particularly long introduction, but part of the goal or idea with this series is that over time I'll be more comfortable talking to the camera. I'll feel like the audience knows me more. I'll come across as less disjointed. I'll be able to more clearly explain what the heck I'm talking about or what I mean, and I'll need to do less of these info dumps right up the front, right? It'll be more normal, integrated, or I might not even need to. I might not even need to talk to the audience or um, express myself, so to speak, because I'll just be able to focus straight on the project because I'll already assume that the audience knows everything they need to know, so there'll be nothing, left to say, so to speak. But the point is that the idea being is that this first episode is going to be particularly introduction heavy and info dump heavy because I'm trying to get everything, as much information as possible as I can out at the beginning so that it doesn't, so that I feel good about that. All right, sorry, just give me a second. Someone made a noise and I've got to fix that. Just give me a second. I have obsessive compulsive disorder and sometimes loud noises and stuff these days stress me out. And I feel like I have to do a little bit of a ritual to try and fix myself, so to speak. So just give me 10 seconds. I guess there's really not much else to say. Honestly, I thought I'd have more to say or that this would be longer, but I really can't think of anything else right at the moment. Obviously, I could go deeper into stuff, but I can't really even think at the top of my head at the moment what I'd want to do in terms of that. So I guess there's nothing really else I can to say. So I might as well just jump right into the project. So I'm just going to give this live stream stuff a check, see if anyone has any questions or anything. And I'm also curious to see if getting off this OBS window is what causes the technical difficulties I had before. Is checking the live stream itself actually part of the issue? I have no clue. So we have one viewer, 0 current viewers. YouTube is saying not good enough. Twitch is saying definitely good enough. Excellent. Someone has followed me. I cannot possibly believe that. Apparently, I have a viewer. I color me surprised. Um, um, well, I guess time will tell if I'm imagining things or not. Well, I don't think I am, but just give me a second. All right. In any case, I that technical difficulty really threw me for a loop, and now I can't. No, I'm not really sure if I got everything out that I wanted to get out or not. But as I said, remember, we're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for actually getting some stuff done. So, without further ado, let's get started. Onto the project itself. Today's project is a particle simulation, also known as bouncy balls. Let me just write that out in full. Particle simulation. And just make sure that the live stream quality is still good. Oh, we're still good. Awesome. Also known as bouncy balls. Make sense? Um, so this is, something that's quite near and dear to my heart, this simulation, because, well, mostly because of the series like this. I've tried to do this video so many times. Now, at first, it seems like a pretty simple particle simulation, but there is one part, the part where the particles bounce off each other and exchange momentum, that I'm particularly proud of. And the reason I'm proud of it is because I came up with the formula myself. Now, unfortunately, it's not actually that revolutionary. It is on Wikipedia. I looked it up. But it wasn't on Wikipedia when I figured it out for myself the first time. And so um, and so when I did actually figure it out for myself. And so for that reason, I'm particularly proud of it, and also of the derivation I came up with. It just kind of popped out, and I was trying various things, trying to figure out how do you make two particles collide properly? How do you exchange the moment? How do you go from the one-dimensional case to the two-dimensional case? And so I was trying some things, and then I ended up trying something by setting the impulse by using the impulse direction as the piece of info that we needed, and not and using that to calculate the magnitude of the impulse, and the answer just popped out like that, and it was like, wow, awesome, amazing. So I'm really happy with that. So yes, the formula in somewhat different form is on Wikipedia, but this derivation I don't think is. At least I'm not sure. I couldn't find it anywhere with a cursory search. Obviously, if you do a deeper search, you might find something. So that's sort of the backstory for me and this project, so to speak. That being said, all right. So um, let's actually talk about the project itself. So this project is as you can tell, it's a simulation project. This is the first of uh, five projects that I have set up for the beginning of Project a Day, of five simulation-based projects that I have set up in. Yeah, this is the first in a series of five simulation-based projects that I have set up. Now it's a bit different from the other four because the other four are based on mostly on waves and partial differential equations. One of them is a heat equation, technically, not a wave, but actually two of them. But the point is, they're mostly based on waves and wave equations. This one is a bit different because, as you can clearly tell, it's about particles. And the idea is more sort of to get into what the essence of simulations is. What makes a simulation tick? You know, things moving around, um, time steps, finite difference methods, etc. Right? Although we probably won't go into depth about into like what a finite difference method is in this particular project, but technically a finite difference method is what we will be using um, implicitly, sort of behind the scenes. So, what do I mean when I say bouncy balls or a particle simulation? Let's move on to that. So what we really want to do is we want to have some particles bouncing around inside of a box. These are going to be frictionless and they're going to bounce around and conserve their momentum and energy. Every time they bounce off a wall, they're going to go back in the direction that they came from. Um, so what is this supposed to represent? It could represent a lot of things. It could represent an ideal gas. It could represent, say, hockey pucks on a hockey field full of ice, or maybe an air hockey table. It could represent billiard balls on a pool table. Of course, we've got to keep in mind that these particles are going to be frictionless. And they are two-dimensional. So not going to have any higher order, higher level things like friction between the billiard ball and the table, or the effect of spinning around. None of that. It's just going to be particle round and bouncing, and momentum is and so the closest thing that this is going to be an equivalent to is going to be an ideal gas, specifically a monoatomic ideal gas. So yeah, so to begin with, we're going to start by adding one ball. Then we're going to add many balls. We're also going to make them be able to collide with each other through elastic collisions, perfectly elastic collisions, and exchange energy. And that is going to be the crux of the program. Before we do that, we are also going to have some fun with adding gravity to the simulation to just show that that is something you can do. But it's not necessarily, and we can turn gravity on and off even once the balls start colliding. But for the final part, we'll turn off gravity because we'll want to simulate Brownian motion, and gravity's kind of going to get in the way of that a bit. But ultimately, once we finish coding the simulation, we'll have something we can play around with and try lots of things with, and something we could even come back to later and see what we can do with it, right? So it's not just a one-time thing necessarily. So that's that. So without further ado, let's get onto the coding side of things. Now, this will just take me a little bit to set up. So before we do anything else, I just want to say, all right, we ran out of recording space, but that's okay. Or is it? Oh God, I didn't expect running out of recording space to be such a big deal. All right, are we still working? Is everything still working? Oh God. Do I have to stop and start the stream again? All right, all right. Emergency protocol. We're going to turn off the headphones. All right, the headphones should be back on and we are ready to go. So just give me a couple seconds to start up with project 1 and we will move to the webcam view as soon as this starts up. I appreciate your patience. This is the wrong project, isn't it? I see. I see the issue here. Right. All right. Got it. All right. 10 seconds, guys. I just got to load up some stuff, get some stuff moved around, and we'll be done in a second. I just got to move an older version of this project from the first time I did this live stream into an archive folder, and then we can start doing it properly. So our processing sketch is ready. We're going to save as. All right, let's swap to webcam mode now. All right, so now we are on the webcam itself. We are going to save this in Stream Projects as Project 1. We are going to go big screen. And one thing that I want to fix from last time, from the testing I did last night, is I'm actually going to make the console font size bigger too. So you guys will hopefully be able to read it a bit more easily. So let me just check that that's all good. All right. Okay, let's go. So, welcome to Project 1. So, as I was saying, let's get started. So, all right, let me just do this for a second. All right. So, without further ado, let's get started on the actual coding itself. So, we're going to start and let's go. 3, 2, 1. Alrighty. So, the language we're going to be using is Processing 3.0. Actually, I guess it's 3.5.4. But the point is, we're using Processing. So if you haven't used Processing before, that's okay. I'm going to, since this is the first episode, since this is the first project I'm doing, I'm going to do my best to try and explain new concepts. I'm going to try. Let me start again. As they come. Let me try. If you haven't used processing before, that's okay. I'm going to do my best to explain things as I go. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do in a new processing sketch is create a setup and void function. I mean a setup and draw function. So you're going to want to type void setup with some curly brackets and void draw with some curly brackets. Now, what these functions do is pretty simple, especially if you've used Arduino before. Processing is very similar to Arduino. In fact, I'm pretty sure that Arduino's the software or the Arduino GUI interface is based off of processing rather than the other way around. So yeah. So if you've used Arduino before, you're probably familiar with your setup and loop. This is basically the same thing, except you have your setup and your draw. So setup happens first. Setup it when you run your program. If I just run this blank program, I'm going to have this empty window. But if I don't have anything at all, it's probably going to give me an error. No, it doesn't, but that's all right. So setup is going to be the first thing that runs when you begin your program. It's going to go through that once, and then once it finishes, it's going to run what's in draw. And it's going to run what's in draw on a loop. So once it finishes what's in draw, it'll start again from the beginning. So you have your setup and you have your loop, and your loop is called draw. Draw doesn't run necessarily as fast as possible. It runs at a particular frame rate. I think it could be around 25. It can maybe a bit faster, maybe a bit slower. But you can change the frame rate by typing in frame rate with the R in capital and setting it up like that. So that will give you a frame rate of 200 frames per second, for example. So you can tell that it's something you can do because the words turned blue when we put a left bracket next to it. You can see if we type in something different like frame rates or frame rate without the capital R, it doesn't work. But putting in frame rate, it turns blue. And that way you know that it's an inbuilt function or an inbuilt command that you can do with processing, or at least something you can access easily. So when you see a blue function like that, that is something that is built into processing, basically. So that's one thing. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you get started with a processing project is give it a size and maybe some background color. So let's say we want to do 400 by 400 as the size, and then we'll end up with this 400 by 400 window. But the background is gray, so maybe you want to change that. So let's do background 255. This will give it a white background. Why a white background? Because the 255 is the maximum brightness color. 0 gives black, 255 gives white. When you type in a single number like this, you get it assigns the same color, same number to every color channel. So by typing in 255, I'm saying give me maximum red, maximum green, and maximum blue. And so when you do that, in every pixel, in the same pixel, you get a white background because 100% red plus 100% green plus 100% blue is 100% white. So if I press play now, we're going to get a 400 by 400 white background. Now this window is a bit small, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size by making it a 1600 by 800 window. And now that will have something a little bit bigger to work with. Now we'll have something bigger to work with. Still recording good? Okay. I don't know what caused that technical issue. Maybe it was something in the house. No clue, man. So, anyway, the next thing we're going to want to do is actually get our ball done. So actually create one of our bouncy balls. So what we're going to do is create a circle, and we're going to put it directly in the middle of the screen. So circle is a command or a function that takes 3 arguments: the x position, the y position, and the radius. So we're going to set the x position to width divided by 2 and the y position to height divided by 2. So width and height are another two special commands or special variables that you can use in processing, and they do just that. They give you the width and height of the current window. So by fetching them and dividing by 2, we will always have our circle spawn in the middle of the screen, even if we change the size. Now, in older versions of processing, you could set up a variable for height and width and then plug those into the size function and use that, but in addition to the width and height, but that doesn't work anymore. Now you have to put in raw numbers into the size function, and then only after you put numbers into the size function can you use the width and height parameters, basically. So yeah, so let's do that, and we'll give it a radius of 25 for the moment. Now, really, we should be putting this circle in the draw function because it is something that is going to be drawn again and again, and actually the same thing goes for the background too. But for the time being, since we're only running this once and we're not moving anything around, I'm putting in the setup just to show you guys that that is something that you can do. So as you can see, we have a circle in the middle of the screen, but it is not quite filled up. So we will fill it up with 0, and 0 is black, so now we should have a black circle in the middle of the screen. So far so good, but it is currently not moving. So I'm just going to check on some things. Is anyone watching? Doesn't seem like anyone's watching, but what you gonna do? One person is maybe watching. I'm going to check that. I probably shouldn't, but I will. I'll give it a check. It's a bit unprofessional. Maybe once I get a certain number of viewers, I'll disable the ability to view that. But yeah, it does seem like there is at least one person watching. I'm not sure who that is, but good luck to you. All right. Anyway, back to what we were doing. So let's get started with the next part. So if we actually want this circle to move around, we're going to need to give it the ability to change position. So instead of this static position, width 2 and height 2, we're going to need to give it some variables. And we will give it these variables in the form of floats. Actually, doubles. We're going to use double precision variables. So in programming, there are different types of variables. Integers, which are whole numbers basically, but they can also be 0 or negative. There are floating point numbers, which are basically your decimal numbers, with numbers with a decimal point, your real numbers, sort of, but they only have a certain precision. Double is similar to a float, but it has double the precision, hence the name double. So since we want to have good precision, we're going to type in double, and we're going to have a double x and a double y. I'm going to set them both equal to 0. Actually, that's probably not the best way of doing this. I'm going to do this properly, so I'm going to have double x equals 0, double y equals 0. Actually, yeah, sure, why not? Actually, I don't know if we actually need to declare these variables right off the bat. I don't know if we need to assign them a value, but whatever's. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to move this circle drawing to the draw phase because we're going to be doing it again and again. And it's going to be really simple. What we're going to do is we've got every so often we will, when we begin, we will set the x equal to the width divided by 2, the x variable. We will set the y value to be the height divided by 2. Then every frame, we will take the x value, add a tiny bit to it, say like 0.1, which we'll write as x plus equals 0.1. We will add a tiny bit to the y variable, say y plus equals 0.1. And then we, instead of drawing it at the same place, we will draw it at its current x position and y position. So we've got I see. So it turns out these only expects floating point numbers, not doubles. So we have two choices. We can give in, we can use floats. That seems to work. Or we can use doubles to do our calculations. And then whenever we actually draw to the screen, we'll cast our double to float. We'll lose some precision in the drawing, but we won't lose any precision in the calculation. So if you want to do it like that, or if you want to do it the other way, it's up to you. I prefer to do it this way because for me, these collisions, they do much better when you have more precision. So pressing play, you can see that it does seem to be working, except for the fact that it is drawing a streak. And the reason for that is because we are not clearing the background. We're not clearing the screen. We draw in the background once, but then every time, that we move it and redraw it, we're just drawing the new circle on top of the original canvas that we already have. so it's not clearing the background. So anything new gets drawn on top of everything that we've already drawn. So the way to fix this is simply to take our background and make it white again at the beginning of every draw step. So now every draw step, it's going to clear the background, make it white, then it's going to increment the X and Y values, and then it's going to draw the circle at those new X and Y values with that radius. So now if we do this, our ball should move. Now we'll notice that also that it's moving quite slowly, so maybe we want to give it a bit more speed. Perfect, but now our ball goes straight off the screen. So perhaps what we'd like to do is, and if you're thinking to yourself, James, what are you doing? Use a class, you make a ball class. We'll get to that. I'm taking you step by step through the creation of the program. So we're doing one thing at a time. Okay, cool. Right. We seem to have some really low stream quality, potentially. So I'm going to give the stream some time to catch up. All right, apparently we're all good again. So I'm going to just refresh the pages and we'll get right back to the project itself. All right. Unstable. I thought we were doing well. Oh, God. All right, we're green again. I don't know how to deal with that. Is it got to do with this? Okay. Well, I can always disable that for the time being, if that helps. Does this help? Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Technical difficulties. I was not expecting this. We might have to continue this later. But, at least we got somewhere. So, that's good enough for me. I'll have to continue this later. Part one, part two, whatever. I think I'll just have these little labels with the brackets next to it, and that'll have to be it. I think in terms of um what we do. I'm not sure, man. Oh God, I'm gonna have to take a look at the live stream that I did after the fact and see how it looks to see how bad the um, malfunctions really are. Because best case scenario is actually not that bad. Worst case scenario, it looks pretty bad. So we'll see. Again, as I said, there's always just give me a second. 10 seconds. As I was saying before, last time, if I need to do a blog, I'll do a blog. So yeah, all good. Alrighty then. Well, that's gonna have to be it for the day because clearly this isn't working as I intended, or at least I don't think it is. It's really hard to tell. Really, really difficult to tell if things are working as intended or not. but we'll get back to this later. All right. Thanks for watching.